Appraisal Coordinator, Office of Real Estate Planning for Department of Administrative Services, State of Ohio.
I looked them up and I didn't see the information. Right.
Stuff going on. Keep all the
How are you? It was good, just got back. Literally. Just.
Your best is you.
We can take our appraiser, our internal appraiser.
We got to take a, like, I really good text for everybody.
Maybe it's like, we got the same appraiser now. It's very hard to buy. It doesn't appraise. We have to make sure.
Right now, we're playing hockey.
I go next Saturday. Next Saturday.
Yeah.
I go next Saturday.
Well.
The safety.
Right
But it's only like a half hour away.
Well, what are you gonna
No,
You're working on it.
Yeah, well, they were.
Nice to meet you, nice to meet you. Oh, hell no.
This guy.
What's going on? I'll sit down.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Operating 6 hours of sleep.
Shake
everybody's hand, but mine.
I gotta take a speaker.
Who's the model?
Because he didn't know what I.
I can get a couple. Jesus.
Yeah,
Is that Glenn?
Do we want this to go?
He just mentioned he's a new computer. So he knows. Yeah, he seems like.
Is there a Corvette in right here somewhere?
Nice to see you. So see you. I didn't say anything wrong.
Hey, morning, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you. As you. Lock it. All right, good morning to everyone. It's 10:30. This is the time we had set aside to discuss the London NCA and residential TIF. Someone from that group want to kick off the conversation?
West, you want to? Okay, so you've got, some information before you. Just one thing, I think the chairman should have the center chair, Chris. Don't you think that?
I'm happy with that.
Okay, all right. So,
Keep trying.
So, as you guys all know, the MTB land that has been in the city of London they've owned it since the 80s, right? So it's 1,021 acres that has been inside the city limits, not been doing anything other than serving as a farm. And obviously that's not the highest and best use for that property. The city of London has a desire to grow. I'll let the mayor speak for that, and Dr. Kramer is here as well to speak about the impact on the school. But in any event, a substantial amount of infrastructure is required to take that farm field and make the roads and bridges and things of that nature that will be required. So the easiest illustration is if you come to Bob Evans where Eagleton ends, part of the vision is to take Eagleton from there and take it and connect to 142. Ultimately, that probably won't happen in one fell swoop, but that's probably a $12 million infrastructure improvement. The city of London doesn't have the money for that. There's no way to justify that without putting that kind of through a program other than what we've got before you today. Today, this property generates about $33,000 in property taxes across the entire 1,021 acres. Somewhere around 6,500 of that is going to the county in one form, shape, or another. So, given it's 1,021 acres, it really has what I would consider an immaterial impact to the county, particularly given what the county's going to get out of this, right? So the county's best source of revenue is sales tax. And, you know, clearly, as you see these plans, just the Johnson Creek portion, which is a couple hundred acres, will result in, you know, a meaningful housing project when that housing material is bought. All the 2x4s, the shingles, everything to build the house is taxed. The county has an immediate benefit from that. And then, of course, when the people live in town, it creates a vibrant market. London, up until we started doing the London Landing project, had a negative growth rate. Negative growth is terrible. It's fatal for any community. It's fatal for schools. It's fatal for city governments. It's fatal for county governments. So, you know, the housing inside of Madison County is well overdue and I think well received because, well, at London Landing, if that is any kind of litmus test of what is, you know, illustrative of what the market offers, they sell about 6 homes a month in that particular community. And for those of you who don't know where it's at, it's got, you know, we rave about it having the very best view of the Madison County Penal Institute. You know, so it's not a great view, right? Like, so this other land, I think will do very well. So from a sheer business perspective, I think it's in the county's interest to pursue this, support this, so the county can take no action or it can show support for it. I would ask the 3 commissioners to demonstrate their support for the project just based on the overall impact of what it'll do. And I grabbed something just to illustrate, you know, what otherwise would be a modest collection of what the impact of the butcher block has done, right? So the butcher block used to sit on land that was taxed at a rate of $196 per year. Considerable infrastructure had to go in there. It's all private, sewer, water, roads, all of that stuff. Collectively generated $196. The school got most of that. The county maybe got $20 from it. And the number I would bring to your attention is in the 3 years since we opened the butcher block, it's already generated $471,000 in sales tax. It's generated $3.6 million in local wages and tips. And I've also outlined the payroll taxes, not that the county gets a piece of that, but the point is that it has been a real boom. In fact, the county can say they make more money at the butcher block than I do, right? I'm the owner and the investor in it. So the math behind this really makes a lot of sense.
Well, since this is in London's, you know, jurisdiction, what benefit does it have other than that? Yeah, this is a great project coming, you know, from me. I'm not going to talk about anybody else. How do you see a benefit of having the commissioners on board when we don't really have a lot of say in anything that happens?
I think, you know, just the sheer presence of David Kell, Rob Swain, like these are people you hire and put on your payroll to support economic development. There's not a bigger economic development project in the community than this. So I think if you want to be known and reflected as those people who support economic development, I would expect you to say, yes, I'm going to vote in support of this because it's something that is in the city's interest, it's in the county's interest, it's in the school's interest. There literally is not a loser in this, but it does take creativity and real capital commitment to make this happen. So people have to live somewhere, right? And all of London is, you know, when I was a county commissioner, people say, oh, you're for the county and not for the city of London. I'd say, hey, listen, the city of London is my largest constituency, right? Like there's more people that live in London than any other constituency you have in any township, any other city, what have you. So the city of London is vital as the county seat to the commissioners and to the county as a whole. And I think that this is going to bring the things that we need in Madison County. This is going to be what is a catalyst for bringing a hotel in. This is going to be the catalyst for the Starbucks, and you see all these already coming, and all kinds of things that foster that, right? And, for years, people would say, why would you, I was accused of being insane when I built the butcher block. And they said, why would you ever build a nice restaurant in London that can't support a restaurant? Well, that's a horrible thing to say about your community, that we don't have enough growth. So that applies to every business owner. I don't care if it's the movie theater in town or if it's a tractor supply company at the Dwyer Brothers. Every business owner in this county will benefit from this project.
I appreciate, and I do appreciate you coming in because, I'd like to know more about the project and I think, that's something that you guys can share, so I can understand what's gonna be there and everything else, so. Who wants to?
Yeah, so the only thing I would say is, like, when I talk to the city, just in the Johnson Creek area, and obviously you guys have a different set of incentives because yours is primarily directly hit from sales tax. But like the Johnson Creek area, which is Kenny Boulevard, right across from the school, 260 acres, 262 acres. That today for the school, for the city, generates a very nominal amount. I've not broken this.
I think over the 1,000 acres, the city gets like $3,500 per year.
Okay, when we put that subdivision in, the city will get nearly $2.5 million in income tax and safety services dollars that come through this, right? So the schools, we were very intentional because I think it's important to have a great school system. I mean, that's the legacy we leave our kids. We were very intentional when we would bring an impact to the schools that we did a non-school TIF for all housing, so that when those kids ultimately are, using those facilities, that the funding mechanism is there to support the schools. In the case of a Starbucks going in or what have you, that doesn't create the burden, so that's a non-school TIF in that particular arena. But we really believe, you talk about vision, so what I looked at from the city lens is, in the time that you had an idle landowner in MTV that did very little with that asset, it really held the whole city back, right? And that holding the city back, if you just look at the 2.5 million in lost revenue that they're gonna get as a result of this project, and that's for just a small portion, less than 20% of what we're talking about, or about 20%. You then multiply that by the 30 years that MTV owned it, and it had a real cost to the community for not doing something proactive. So the vision, and this won't happen in a day, it won't happen in a year, it's gonna happen in time. The vision is we're gonna take Eagleton from 42 to 142 to create another artery in the city. There's 2 bridges that we have to build for that project to take place, because we've got the children's home ditch and I don't know the name of the other one. We've got a considerable amount of, water sewer related infrastructure, lots of roads, lots of hard money that has to go in. But I fully expect that Kroger's, after Albert's opens, because it's short on space today, they're getting pressure from the state with their Ohio liquor license to expand their liquor store. They can't because of their pharmacy. I expect you'll see a new Kroger's within 5 or 6 years' time, when the market impacts hit them, and that will have a box. And if it's not a Kroger's, it may be a Target, but I think you'll see a big box there that looks for a site like that. We've got lots of interest from, tunnel car washers to Starbucks to Ohio wants to come to town. Lots of various business, but along the 42 corridor, we want to build off the road a good bit in terms of long-term expansion of 42, so we don't get kind of trapped like you're seeing at 42 and 70 right now, right? So leaving the space for that, but ultimately along that corridor having a commerce center, if you will, and then lots of residential housing and things of that nature. There's manufacturing over closer to the 142 and Spring Valley, corridors that's already zoned for manufacturing. So I think it'll be a nice mix of jobs, houses, and businesses that come to town.
Yes, that was my question, that was gonna be my question, are we looking at single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial, warehouse, manufacturing, I mean, is that all in play on this development?
We've looked at all of that except for multifamily, and the reason that I've shied away from multifamily is multifamily's technically commercial, and commercial, then they want to go through and not fund the kids' education, so there's lots of people we've turned away because of what I consider to be the adverse impact on the school. And, you know, many folks would say, hey, you're foolish for turning that away, because they're willing to pay the price, they're just not willing to pay their fair share of the burden once they, you know, own the land. And so I said, listen, this is my community, I live 1 mile down from the street, I want it to be nice, I want it to be good, and all you have to do is look at what the Butcher Block looks like, what Sovereign Village looks like, what the Bluebird looks like, right? I hope that everyone in the room has an appreciation for the kind of investment that we're really making here, and it's not to have a shabby kind of community. At London Landing, the homes are averaging $360,000. The average income is $114,763 compared to a median income in the city of $58,000. At Johnson's Creek, we're gonna have homes between $450,000 and $650,000. And I think someday we'll have homes that, you know, even exceed that for people that, you know, like my view between 42 and 142, and we're nowhere close to doing this, but I wanna have a housing community like I've seen in other parts of the Midwest that has like a boarding area in there where you have stables and horses that people can, basically take down walking paths and stuff like that, part of your green space. The Johnson Creek portion, what are our green space acres in Johnson Creek?
There's like 69 acres of green space of the 260 acres of land for Johnson's Creek.
So we're trying to do everything that really is elevated and, I mean, listen, there's a lot of jobs. Everyone talks about the Honda EV plant in Jeffersonville, which is 25 minutes from here, but Amazon just announced last week a $5 billion project, which is, I mean, there's gonna be people that need to have homes, and Fayette County doesn't have a bunch, Pickaway doesn't have a bunch, so I think there's a real neat opportunity for Madison County. And so while you don't have to give your support for this to go forward, to answer your question directly, I think it's the right thing to do if you're interested in economic development. I think it's the right thing to do to support the existing businesses in this community. I think it's the right thing to do for your own financial interests. And if those aren't good enough reasons, then I don't have any more reasons, right? So that would be my answer.
You know, we did that with Darby Township, we thought that was a great idea. You have two people here that I'm glad came, the mayor and schools here, and I mean, they're obviously behind this project, they're obviously thinking this is a great idea also. So I'm happy that they're here.
A couple questions for me. The 6,500 of the 33 currently that goes to the county, where I thought it was completely contained within the city. Is that not the case? Is there?
It is, so the 1,016 acres is completely within the city limits. So the real estate taxes that are generated off that 1,000 acres is roughly $33,000 per year, of which the county gets approximately, 6,500?
I see.
Yes.
So you get a sliver of that.
Understood.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a non-school tip. What about the impact on any other services? I mean,
All of that would be City of London, so it's not the Sheriff's Department, it's the London PD, it's not the Central Township Fire Department, it's London PD, or London Fire Department. And so as we work with that, we've tried to fund the safety services and things of that nature that are a part of it. But for the city, it's an IQ test, really. I mean, you've got 4,500 that you're gonna turn into 2.5 million, and if you don't like that math, then you should get a job in Washington DC.
The different zones here, what you refer to as districts, right? 3, 4, 5. Which one of those are commercial? Is it only on the southern side of 142, or?
If you look down at the bottom, on that map, I'll call it the southernmost one, it's also true, in terms of its actual direction. That's behind Staples and by Stanley, so that's in M2, so that's manufacturing. And then if you cross the street at 142 there, about halfway up, that's manufacturing as well.
Yeah, that would have been my guess, is that the portions of, certainly 7, 8, portions of 5 and 6 would all be in your kind of manufacturing commercial district.
Which is where it's at.
That makes sense.
And I think it's important to note that the properties, it's all zoned PUD manufacturing business today, as it stands today.
So we're not changing the zoning, we're doing something with the land for a change.
Yeah, this supports our vision. I mean, we put together a comprehensive plan, and then the city's put together a comprehensive plan. We work with the city and have a shared vision of the city for growth, development, and prosperity of this community. We work closely with the city of London to support their, initiatives, and this is something the city of London supports, and it'll likely be something that has my support.
I appreciate that. One thing I forgot to mention, but I think it's of note. Like D.R. Horton's coming in and they're gonna be building homes. The very first thing we do with D.R. Horton, once we have lots, is we introduce them to a organized meeting of the roofers, the plumbers, all of the Brad Gordon's dumpster business. We make a conscious effort to say, hey, listen, just because these guys are local, it doesn't entitle them to the work, but we darn sure hope you'll give them a chance. And these guys will tell you that CPD that's out there, all states, like they're getting benefit directly from becoming that contractor, and they're employing lots of people. So we make this very much a community exercise to make sure that everybody is winning in this process. And I think that's why, when we put this through, we didn't get a single person when we started Johnson Creek, not one person in the most populated area of the city came in to protest the Johnson Creek subdivision. Because first thing we did is we went and talked to them, we listened to what they had to say, we had a meeting at the butcher block and said, hey, this is what our plans are, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. And when we got to the public hearing at council, they're like, well, I showed up to say something, these guys have done everything that we asked them to do, so I'm now supportive of it. So, that says a lot, because it's very rare that you don't get some.
Yeah, to that point, you've been rising tides, do lift all boats, and what you've done, with the butcher block and Sovereign Village and Bluebird and the housing development vision that the mayor has, but, a lot of, London sat kind of idle for a long time. And I'm happy to see that London is no longer idle, that the mayor, the council have a vision for the city of London, that they're working to achieve that vision. And, we appreciate the role that you played in helping London achieve that vision, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? David, do you have anything to answer?
Just communities that are growing use these tools. You go to Dublin or you go to any other growing community, they utilize these tools, and I think this, I think I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, didn't do that, to that point, this is what the state of Ohio, and then, tools in the toolbox, and these are the tools the state of Ohio has given us to support growth and development, and I think it's smart to avail ourselves of the tools when they make sense.
Yeah, and if they're done right, then it helps community.
Yeah, and that's, part of the reason we brought David on is, Port Authority, Land Bank, all these economic development tools, and we're utilizing those tools and moving Madison County in the right direction so that we, have the utilities in place, we have the development in place, and we're growing and prospering, and that Madison County is a place people want to, move to, work at, raise a family, start a business, and so we really, appreciate the growth and prosperity that we're bringing to the county. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I would just like to just say a few words, if that's okay.
Yeah.
First thing I want to talk about, Dr. Zanika had some questions at the beginning. And, I think the whole reason they're here, the whole reason I'm here, the whole reason Dr. Kramer's here is that, we appreciate your guys' partnership, right? So when we ask for this support, I think it just strengthens the partnership. And then also, we don't want you guys hearing about things or learning about things not directly from the source, right? And, when I started the mayor's committee, we all had this kind of vision that if a win for West Jeff is a win for London, right? A win for London is a win for Plain City. Being a community, a county of 45,000 people, when London wins, we all kind of win, right? We're such close neighbors and people moving around, so, you know, something like this and a big win for the city of London like this, it is a win for the county. Just to let you guys know, so all this is in front of city council right now. They'll have their public hearing, on the 20th. They're talking it through, talking to lawyers, making sure that everything is what it's supposed to be. So they're doing their due diligence on this legislation. And we know that we need housing, right? I mean, David and I did some studies a while back where, you know, there were 3 houses for sale in London and 2 apartments for rent, right? Like, people want to be here, so let's give them the product to be able to come here and be here. You know, London Landing, for example, their first block of houses they did, 75% of the people that bought a house there weren't from London. So that means that we're bringing other people to our community, right? People want to move here, and that shows that it's not just people from London buying a new house in London. This is bringing people not just from West Jeff or Columbus, but from Texas and Florida. And, you know, it's pretty cool that they're finding us. When we first started talking about this, the biggest thing that I wanted to do with my partnership with the school was protect the schools. And that's where we came up with non-school residential TIF, right? To make sure that as we grow, the school's able to grow, they have the money to be able to grow and keep giving that great education that they're giving our kids right now. And then, Mr. Shea, you brought up safety services, right? Always huge on my mind, right? Especially with what's been going on the past few years with levies and such. And, you know, it's tough to get a levy passed, right? So how do you take care of your safety services? How do you grow your safety services? You increase that tax base, right? And so besides that, in the new community authority, the NCA, we've worked out a deal where they're gonna carve out a percentage that'll go to safety services in that NCA. So we're able to keep up, right? Because there's formulas we follow also where so many people, you have to have so many police officers, right? So we know we're gonna have to grow with this also, and that's where those tax dollars are gonna come from. And when you're building houses, like you said, that are averaging 360 in London Landing, and you're gonna average $500,000 in Johnson's Creek, you know, that brings some income tax, for sure. But also what it does is it brings disposable cash, right? If you can make a payment on a $500,000 home, you probably got a few dollars that you can go and spend downtown, that, you know, you can run over to West Jeff and get a pizza at Flyers, that you can, you know, start supporting these local businesses, and then also bring more retail in, right? And he talked about it, you know, we got Aldi coming in. You know, Aldi's not gonna come here if they don't see what's on the horizon. They're very bright companies that are not gonna build a huge grocery store if they think that we're just gonna stop building or they're not gonna have enough people here. So, you know, that's just a few things I wanted to say. And also we talk about tips. Listen, tips are new for us too, right? I've learned a lot, and I want to thank Mr. Kell because he's taught me a lot about TIFs. I always kid and say that he's also the city's TIF and CRA guru. And, you know, when I have questions and the council has questions, I tell council, get ahold of David, he'll help explain it. But, you know, it's a new tool for us, but it's not a new tool for Central Ohio. I think, Wes, do you remember the amount of houses that are under a TIF in just Columbus?
26,000 in Franklin County.
And, yeah, I mean, so, you know, they understand what they're doing over there, and they understand that, you know, to have this investment and, you know, yeah, will houses get built without this TIF? Probably, hopefully, but will they be able to be built at the pace that we need to build them? Not at all, so.
So, you know, just to get my opinion, my thoughts clear, I'm in support of this.
No, I know you are, but I just want, I
Let me
know you
finish.
were.
I'm especially in support of this because London and the schools and everything else is on board with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I definitely want to see London benefit from this. Don't think I don't, because I really do.
I did not think that at all, Dr. Z, because it was just, you know, you asked, so I just want to say, you know, that's why we're here, man, that's why I'm here.
And I appreciate them coming in and explaining this. is rather than hearing it from somebody else and then you don't know what the heck, so get it from the horse's mouth and.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just appreciate your guys' partnership and your support and, vice versa, so.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Dr. Kramer?
If I can just take a couple of seconds, I've heard the word school district concerns by about every party here. And I couldn't be more appreciative of that. The reality of strong community helps make a strong school district. A strong school district helps make a strong community. And I have to applaud Paul and his team for the extraordinary efforts in collaboration that have occurred. I'm in a unique situation. I literally live 2 doors down from this development. I see it every day, and then I go to work and will be directly impacted. My work is directly impacted from this. So I'm probably as much as anyone impacted by this project. He's literally come door to door to my house and spoken to my wife and spoken to our neighbors about the project. So the collaboration that he mentioned in really working to get this off the ground is obviously very real. From a school standpoint, growth is not necessarily a bad thing. I know many school districts struggle when they aren't have a little bit of a different mindset. That's saying not necessarily the not at all the outlook that our school district takes. And we're excited about this project. We're excited to be a part of a growing community and still see our district, our facilities as an asset that supports the city of London, supports Madison County is a draw. So, I felt it is appropriate just to add those 2 cents. We've done the biggest questions that we get. Part of the reason I'm here today, part of the things that we respond to in the community is about capacity of our facilities, about enrollment. We do and update enrollment projections annually. We've done a comprehensive capacity study this past fall in relation to those enrollment reports. We are in a good spot. We do have a master's facility plan. We are watching our enrollment very carefully, and we do have some triggers along the way that would make some decisions for facilities, but we are currently very well situated for this project.
That's good to hear. Thank you for those comments.
How many homes total build out?
Johnson Creek is,
877.
but that's over, 7 years.
Right. I wonder if it helps further discussions with ODOT as far as making 42 4-lane and eventual ramp at 38 and 70.
Yeah, they're part of the conversation for sure.
To alleviate some of that 42 traffic.
Any other comments for the record? All right, thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, I'm moving.
Is there any other?
Said I'm moving out.
Any other business coming before?
Thanks, guys.
Anything? Yes.
You mentioned that the 250.
Here's a reservation capacity.
Good
to see you.
Yep.
All right, we'll do.
Concept.
I do appreciate it.
Yeah,
for sure, yeah.
I think. From what I understand, they're going to be trying to disperse these around the state. How much interest there is in we might just get it.
Take what we got.
Yeah, maybe you take a look at that, Brandon, to see what, if it has a specific plan, would you mind taking a look at it just to see?
The guiding document behind it is pretty basic, but the date is quickly approaching the deadline. So I think we need to in my personal opinion, the recommendation would be to come up with a concept relatively soon, in order to make that application. So,
The 31st.
right, so let's look at, yeah, 10 days.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind going back and reviewing the application, see what the funds could be used for, and maybe we can discuss it on next Tuesday.
And basically, it's education, and history, type thing.
So we would get
Performance,
we would get a grant
yeah, $5,000 grant.
to do some sort of program, educational program.
Yeah, basically, that's how I read it. I don't know if you read it any other way than that. It was more a history, educational type thing. This is like the third stage of this grant. The first two had other applications, but that is where this one is at. So I don't know if that means you fund a play that
Well,
talks about this, or.
I would describe, based on my understanding, as educational or commemorative.
Yeah,
I think a lot of things could fall into the commemorative
right.
category.
And that's what I was thinking with a plaque or, something along those lines, so to memorialize the 250, but, the concept would need to be developed rather quickly.
As I said, we'll just take a second look at that grant and then come up with a concept or discuss a concept next Tuesday, if that makes sense.
Because it would be due that Friday.
Very good.
I'll make it happen.
Yeah. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, meeting adjourned.
Are we done recording?